Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Israel, please. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Your Excellency, Ambassador of France to Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Didier Chabert, Charge d'Affaires of the British High Commission to Trinidad and Tobago, Madam Tasmin Clayton, Air Vice Marshal Daryl Daniel, Chief of Defense Staff of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Mrs. Erla Christopher Harewood, Commissioner of Police, Harewood Christopher, Commissioner of Police of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, other heads of division, every one of you from the Ministry of National Security, all turned out here today. Ms. Angela Crowdy, Assistant Executive Secretary of CICAD, OAS. Ms. Leslie Ann Boiselle, Foreign Policy and Diplomatic Service Officer. Let me recognize Madam Jennifer Boku-Blake, who chairs the National Drug Council of Trinidad and Tobago, the other directors, management, staff of that important institution, Dr. Simon Alexis, the provost here at the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Academy, course facilitators, other CICAD representatives, and all members of the staff of national security, members of the media, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It behoves of me promptly, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, to extend greetings and welcome to all of you, particularly the 15 participants and those who are visiting with us from other Caribbean member states. In addition, I issue a special greeting to you, the 10 local participants to this regional training course on the control of illicit drug trafficking for female officers, hosted by OAS CICAD and funded by the Government of Canada, with support from the Government of France, as we learned happily a while ago, who provided the facilitators. Again, I direct special greetings to you, the locals, as it is to you that as Minister of National Security in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, I would naturally turn to resolve the challenges that we face here in Trinidad and Tobago. As you are aware, you participate in this course at a particularly challenging time in the life of our nation and, of course, our region. Trinidad and Tobago has maintained a very robust relationship with our regional and international partners in relation to all matters of national security. I am very pleased to advise that just a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure to receive, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, a handsome donation of visit, board, search and seizure equipment and kit, as well as consumables for capital assets of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, and these were presented to us from the Government of Canada, working in collaboration with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. These items, as I indicated on that occasion, will support our training and operational exercises for members of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, geared towards bolstering maritime search and seizure operations. as things go regionally and internationally, while this sounds as though it is only to benefit Trinidad and Tobago, it obviously is not. The transnational nature of crime, its impact on all of us in the region means that when one of us, and most of all, when all of us become stronger, as will happen in this training program, we are all better off as a region and world. I therefore again thank the government of Canada through its anti-crime and capacity building program for Global Affairs Canada for facilitating that intervention. This regional and international cooperation agenda is being pursued with all of our partners, including the United States, the United Kingdom, the European Union, France, and all of our CARICOM partners, including our dealings with that regional institution that is CARICOM Impacts. And of course, the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, CIFATIF, as well as organizations such as the UNODC, UN-LIREC, and of course, as is intervening on this occasion, the OAS CICAD. Cooperation and collaboration, as I understand it, and irresistibly so, is an absolute must. This is the way it is, and this is the way it ought to be. At the level of the Ministry of National Security and the government, we remain deeply committed to ongoing security initiatives with all of our international partners. Expanded areas of collaboration, especially in the area of capacity and human resource development and enhancement for law enforcement personnel, are critical to the transnational because of the transnational implications of the issues that arise from the breaches by drug trafficking with its many attendant problems. Just a few weeks ago, I had the privilege to participate in the 37th meeting of the Association of Caribbean Commissioners of Police, which was held at the Hyatt right here in Port of Spain. In my address, I set out before the Caribbean's region's finest men and women in policing that transnational organized crime is one of the major threats to human security, even to our democracies, as it impedes the social, economic, political, and cultural development of our societies and societies worldwide. It is a multifaceted phenomenon and has manifested itself and continues so to do in many ways, such as drug trafficking, trafficking in human persons, trafficking in firearms, smuggling of migrants, money laundering, which gets the attention primarily of our financial intelligence unit and others, and such like. In particular, drug trafficking as one of the main activities of organized crime groups generates enormous profits. These profits set up great opportunities to influence and to undermine our communities, very often with poor examples of what success is supposed to be, while undermining our observations and our standards of integrity, and sometimes undermining the very institutions that we have established in order to uphold these standards for general well-being and safety. Then, of course, there is the ever-increasing business of murder and gang activity in many parts of our region, Haiti being the most extreme example as we speak. Organized crime, as you will all know, is the catalyst for these unwanted ills afflicting our societies. It is the main problem because it has spawned what appears to be successful crime business models. It has professionalized it. It has made it transnational, generating, as I said earlier, huge income streams from drug trafficking and extortion, and it has made criminal networks powerful players in a number of our communities, major cities, and towns across these islands. Only 3 weeks ago, a successful joint exercise led by our transnational organized crime unit, working in collaboration with our law enforcement counterparts in the United States, intercepted and seized 168.4 kilograms of cocaine, valued at some 234 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars, which was intended from the intelligence garnered for the United States. And last week, Tuesday, another successful intervention by our transnational organized crime unit and other agencies from our law enforcement platform led to another seizure of 158.4 kilograms of marijuana, valued at some 11.5 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars. Then, when you consider, as I indicated on that occasion, the near 20 tons, 20 tons, valued at $1.3 billion, found in Philadelphia some time ago, and this from a plant which intelligence suggested had the production capacity of 200 kilograms per day, you must continue to wonder, where does the money to support this kind of activity come from? Where is it? Who consumes all of that drug? What does it mean to our little communities, in our beautiful little spaces, in our islands? How does this impact general criminal activity like break-ins, shootings, murders, social displacement, and mental health issues? Which finance laws and/or institutions are being undermined in the money laundering that must surround these activities? Only it was the day before yesterday actually, I looked at a documentary on the television around drug problems in Thailand, in San Francisco in the US. And both revealed to me, again, very potent examples of man's inhumanity to man, man's quest for more money at all costs. In one of those documentaries in Thailand in particular, they reported that as we speak, some 7,000 young people, teenagers, youngsters, in their institutions being treated for addiction to these horrible drugs. Young men like zombies. I saw some footage, and when I say like zombies, I mean it. Persons assuming double-over positions and staying like that for long and inexplicable periods while afflicted with the use of fentanyl and other nasty drugs that people produce to make money. Man's inhumanity to man. All of that, to my mind, represented a very accurate depiction of a song that we sang and danced and loved, produced in various languages, the song Hotel California. It's only late in my life I realized that that song may have been interpreted, I have to put it carefully, may have been interpreted by those who see it that way as dealing with the question of drugs. A line in that song which we all know says, in this hotel, you could check in anytime, but you could never leave. One victim in the documentary I looked on, he put that same thing very differently, but equally potently. He said that he had seen many a person, ordinary, suited, dressed, working, family engaged, show up on the blocks where they use these drugs, try it, sometimes just for the adventure of it, and never leave. Leaving their entire life, work, family, every other aspect, completely behind. Never again to recover. That's how serious that is. That's how serious your work is. That's why this program that you have appeared for in Port of Spain, for those who have traveled to us, is so important to you, to us, to mankind. In the Caribbean basin, the challenge of avoiding the scourge of transnational organized crime, the illegal drug and gun trade, and the attendant laundering of funds, as well as other criminal activities, has been amplified because the world is obviously now a much smaller and global village. It is only through the ethos of hard, smart, and consistent work, as well as through collaboration and cooperation, that we as a country, as a region, and as a global family can surmount and defeat these challenges. It is training such as that which you will undergo, which is geared towards the capacity and capability development of you, our law enforcement officers. It would redound, of course, to the overall benefit and advantage of us all. The upskilling and increased professionalization of you and our men and women of law enforcement in the matters that you would be trained in contributes to joint learning and joint operational platforms at the international, regional, and obviously national levels. This program, and I want to say in complimentary terms to the police commissioner, the provost at this academy, is one of many that have been put on. I had recently to hand a very long and impressive list of the number and the elements of the training that is taking place at this academy along these lines, and it is to be encouraged. I take this opportunity to recognize and thank again the OAS CICAD for your continuing promotion of regional cooperation and coordination among all of us, 34 OAS member states, through action programs conducted by the various units of your organization. With great interest, I took the time to review the multilateral evaluation mechanisms report on Trinidad and Tobago, titled Evaluation Report on Drug Policies, Measures to Control and Counter the Illicit Cultivation, Production, and Trafficking and Distribution of Drugs, and to address their causes and consequences, all a long name, which was published in 2022. I noted that CICAD had highlighted in that report that many of the coordinated actions that this country has taken and is taking in collaboration with national and regional entities to address the issue of drug trafficking. And you took note that we are doing so while dismantling criminal groups involved in these activities. Some of these actions, just for your record, ladies and gentlemen, include but are not limited to the work of the Strategic Services Agency in supporting other units of law enforcement, the use of confidential sources and communications with our regional and international law enforcement agency partners, the carrying out of interinstitutional collaborative activities designed to coordinate us and aimed at dismantling organized crime groups involved in these activities, and of course the Special Investigations Unit, which was established in the police service, and it has been mandated to dismantle organized crime gangs. And of course our Transnational Organized Crime Unit, which participates in operations and investigations with other countries. And to that I will add our recent signing into the CARICOM Gun Intelligence Unit, which enhances our sharing of intelligence and information and which allows for the tracing of the origins and the distributive pathways of the weapons as we seize them, helping us to better understand what is happening, where it is happening, how it is happening, so we could more effectively deal with it. I have noted, as I wind to my conclusion, that this program was designed exclusively for female officers in law enforcement, and I think that's a good thing. It affords me a quick opportunity to represent to you some of the strides that we in Trinidad and Tobago have been making in respect of the recognition of women generally, and you in the law enforcement fraternity or platform. It must be noted that this squares easily with our national development strategy, which is entitled Putting People First and Nurturing Our Greatest Asset, which is linked to Sustainable Development Goal 5, which relates to gender equality, equity, and the empowering of women and girls. But before we come to law enforcement, I would like to, not boastfully, but rejoicingly say that we have touched and broken the glass ceiling in Trinidad and Tobago that may have contained women for far too long. We are headed, as you would know, our head of state, our president, Her Excellency Christine Kangaloo, Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, who succeeded our first female president, Her Excellency Madam Paula May Weeks, also of the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. At the level of the House of Representatives, the Speaker of our House, Madam Bridget Anisette George, the Honorable, is also female, for those who come from outside and may not have known or recognized that. Trinidad and Tobago has produced several women who have distinguished themselves in the business of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, including a Dr. Shirin Hack, the first woman to head the University of the West Indies' physics department, and also Ms. Dolly Nicholas, the first woman to receive a national award for scientific invention. Turning closer to your area of responsibility in security and law enforcement, we are very proud, more than proud, to have announced and to have with us our first, very own first female police commissioner, Madam Erla Harewood, or Christopher. Let us give her a round of applause. We're really proud of that, really proud of that. And at our ministry's General Administration Division, there are 4 female executives at the Permanent Secretary and Deputy Permanent Secretary level, all responsible for significant aspects of the work of our ministry. For a long time, these services were considered to be male-dominated. And while it may have started with the recruitment of only men, it was on the 29th of August 1955, a long time ago, that the first group of women police officers joined and became part of the ranks of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Last year, we celebrated the 66th anniversary of this seminal development. We continue to recognize these pioneering women who took their places and did particularly well in what was hitherto or previously considered a man's domain. In 2014, the Police Service Commission in Trinidad and Tobago recommended that the then Deputy Commissioner of Police, Madam Anne-Marie Allen Daly, and may she rest in peace, having recently passed, to act as Commissioner of Police at that time, making her the first woman to have performed in that role. Prior to that, she was the first woman to head the Special Branch, a very elite and important unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And in 2017, the police service was recognized internationally for its contribution to the advancement of women in policing at the International Association of Women Police's 55th Annual Training Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, as Minister of National Security, I am proud to remind us that there are approximately 3,000 women serving within the ranks of our Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. 375 in the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, 315 in the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, and a total of 737 women serving in the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, comprising of, I think, about 14% of the force. Currently, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, with 30% of its strength being women, has surpassed the average 15% of women serving in forces in North America and other jurisdictions around the globe. So we are doing in that regard quite and particularly well. And our record in this regard continues. Recently, we celebrated as well in Trinidad and Tobago the joy and the admiration of seeing Rear Admiral Antoinette Gorman having assumed the office of Chief of Defense Staff in Jamaica, and the appointment to the rank of Commissioner of Police of Mrs. Crusita Descartes Pilui of St. Lucia. The woman's ability to harness and maintain the roles of professional woman, mother, wife, and all else that you do is, to me personally, amazing and worthy of celebration. Of course, I would have seen it in my own personal experience, watching my own wife deal with my family and her professional life at the same time, especially given that in my public life, I spent a lot of time around the country in my constituency. It really is amazing. The Ministry of National Security has always been a pioneer and trailblazer in the area of succession planning for our next generation of leaders within our law enforcement platform. Although it may appear at times from the outside looking in that upward mobility for women seems limited, and although I personally sometimes feel comfortable that the issues that afflicted you in these regards have now been obliterated, I am told by women in our forces that there are still some issues that are to be regulated, and it is institutional changes we are pursuing to ensure that these obstructions are removed to your advantage. Last week, in fact, I returned on Saturday, I attended a symposium in Washington, D.C. on the business of women, peace, and security. Quite an enlightening experience that was. The main theme was the fact that women in our communities and around the globe are the most affected and afflicted by any crises that face us. Whether it is natural disasters, political, social upheaval, whatever it is, women, by virtue of what you do and how you do it in our societies, are most affected. So that conference was advancing the agenda of the things that we must do to ensure that women participate fully in the resolutions to those problems. Men as well, because we must be constantly sensitized to those conditions in order that we may become motivated to doing whatever we can to resolving them. So these institutional arrangements are to be pursued, and I'll start with the Defense Force based on the issues that I would have gathered last week. And of course, it was pointed out at that conference that issues of focused budgeting is very critical to ensure that they progress. And therefore, I am mindful that while it might appear from the statistics I read and the successes we've had that all is well, I'm not unaware that there are some issues still to be resolved. I would conclude, therefore, to say that the main idea of you being trained and having your capability and your capacity enhanced as it relates to law enforcement and dealing with the filthy business of illicit drug trafficking and its impact on us, I urge you to give full and detailed attention to what will come to you, absorb it wholeheartedly, and most of all, apply it when you return to your respective workstations. And I would like, on that basis, to pray that all goes particularly well, and wishing all of us a wonderful future. Thank you very much.